So the topic is going to be arrays, and arrays are just lists. Okay, there's a difference. There are two things, by the way. There's an array and there's an array list. And there are two concepts. Those are the two concepts that we cover in this unit, by the way. So you just have to understand they're different. But an array is a list. So with my current knowledge right now, if I wanted to make a list, it would be really boring, to tell you the truth. But it would look like this. If I wanted to do it the absolute longest way possible, I'd be doing it this way. Right? And this would take me a long time, especially if I had a list of a lot of numbers. Some of you are probably thinking, why would he do it that way? That's the longest way possible. And I would say, that's what I just told you. Okay, it would be faster if I were to go this way, if I were to go E equals 10 F, right? This is faster. Okay, G equals 14, and so on. That's faster. It doesn't do one line of code. Okay, but that's not quite what we're getting at with lists. It's actually like an object that's going to keep a list in its memory, if you will. And so that's where we're headed, and we have to be able to create those. So I'm going to get rid of all this garbage, because that's really what this is right now, is a bunch of garbage. So what I need to do is I'm going to create a list of integers. And the way I do it is like this. I go int, and then I'm going to use two closed brackets like this. And that basically is telling the computer that I want to create an array, and I'll call it my array. Okay, because it's my, or maybe my first array, whatever. And it's like an object. So if you remember right, with a scanner, we had scanner, we named it, and then we said new scanner. I have to do the exact same thing right now. I have to go new integer array like this. Now I'm going to get an error because I have to finish telling you how to do this. But this is the same idea. Is that it says, hey, I've got an array object that's going to hold integers for me. That's what this is. It's called my array. You need to make me a new one, and it's going to be an integer array. But right now I'm getting an error if I hover over that. It says the dimensions are missing. When I make an array, I have to tell the computer how many things are going to be in that list. I need to tell the computer how long that array is going to be. So right now I'll just store my favorite 3 numbers. So I'm going to go with an array 3 like this. And if you notice, right, my error goes away because now I've defined how long it is. So right now my array is a list of 3 things, and they're nothing right now. They're empty because there's nothing there. I didn't put anything there. Okay. Now I made a list of 3 things. The list is empty. If I want to find out what's stored in them right now, I would do an output statement. And remember, my array is called my array. And I would have to tell it which item to print. But before I do that, we have to understand something very important. For the first item in the array list, sorry, I should never say it that way. The first item in the array is the initial item. And if you're into mathematics, you know that the initial item, or physics, is actually the number 0. Okay, so if I want to know what the first item in my list is, I'd have to actually print my array element 0, which is the first thing in my list. And now you notice a warning pops up here. It's only read from, it's never written to. I never write anything to the array. So I'm going to run this. It's not read, so it will run. I'm going to run this. I have to have the 2 brackets, yep. And right now it prints 0 because if you remember, right, I didn't put anything in there. That memory is empty. There's no numbers there. It says it's 0, nothing there. Okay, but let's say I want to fill it. I actually would like to fill it with some numbers before I print it. And so the way I do that is I could fill it. This is one way to do it. I can say, hey, take my array and make the 0. That's the initial value, by the way. And set it equal to something. I'll set it equal to, let's just go 789 for these. And my array, then 1, is equal to 8. And my array 2 is equal to 9. So it's very important you realize I have 3 elements in my array. I told the computer that it would hold 3 elements. I have filled those elements with 789. If I run this program again, it's going to print the number 7 because it's going to go access whatever's in element 0. Index 0. It's called index, by the way. Index 0, the index number. If I run this, it'll print me a 7. And there it is. It's printing me the 7. If I change this output statement and I print item 2, now it's going to print me the 9 because it's going to print the third item in the list, which is index 2, and it's going to print me the 9. Okay. It's important to realize that right now, basically in memory, I'm going to make a comment here because I don't want this to be code. I just want to make a note for you. I have this my array basically, and right now basically if I were to look at it and I could just see it in memory, right now it's kind of like this. This is basically what it has in memory, 789. That's what's in memory. Okay, so I've got this array created, I filled it. That's one way to do it. There is another way to do it because I actually did it a long way right now. So it's a longer way to make an array. Another way to do it would be this. Okay, I'll make another integer array, and this time I'll call it my second array because it's the second one we've done. New. Actually, no, I'm not even going to use the word new because I don't want it to create an empty array. I want it to be filled. If I want it to be filled, I'm going to use a bracket, and I'm just going to fill it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Just so you know that it's not going to always go up by 1. So what I did was I just made another array. This is the fastest way to make it. I created an array. If I want to know how big it is, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 elements. The size of the array is 5. But it's very important to realize that index 0 is the 1. And index 1 is 2. And index 2 is 3. Okay, I'll finish this. Index 3 is 4. And just because I wanted you not to be pattern followers, what's index 4? 8. 8. There you go. Okay. So you have to understand too that this is 5. The size of the array is 5, but the largest index value is going to be 4 because we always start at 0 when we're counting it or when we're setting it up. Okay. So now if I want to print the entire array, I want to print the whole array all at once in a straight line just so I can see what it is. And believe me, you're going to do this for months to come. Okay, weeks to come. This class doesn't last more than a few months, a couple months. But to print out all the elements in that array, you actually want to use a for loop. So if you thought that you're going to forget everything we learned in the first 2 units, I don't mean to be rude, but you're wrong. Okay, so it's a for loop. And what you need to do in a for loop, remember, is you've got to set up a counter. And I'm going to set this equal to 0. And the reason I'm going to set it to 0 is, remember, the index, the first item in my array has index 0. And that's why I'm going to start with a 0 there. Okay, I'm going to run through this array as long as I is less than, in this problem, what's the largest I value can have here for my array? It's 4. So as long as it is less than 5, I want this thing to run. So it's going to run at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's going to stop. Okay, and then I have to increment it to make sure that it's incrementing. And what I want to do is I want to print every element in that array. So I'm going to print my second array, I. Because remember what I is doing. It's going my second array 0, okay, print the number. My second array 1, okay, print the number. My second array 2, print the number. And it's going to print all of them. So when I run this code, now remember up here I have this print. I'm going to get rid of this print statement so we're not confused by it. So when I run this, I'm going to get my array outputted. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. It outputs the whole thing. Now that bothers me because I don't like them on separate lines because an array kind of is like a straight list across. I just take care of the ln right here and run it again. And I get right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. That's my array. Now at the same time, you know what, I'd like some spacing in there because what if one of these numbers was 12? Well, I don't really know that. So all I have to do in my output statement is throw a plus quote and then add maybe 1 or 2 spaces in there and run this thing. And now I can see clearly that my array is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, and I don't have any questions in my mind about if there's any 2-digit numbers in there or 3-digit numbers. So it keeps track of this list for me. That's basically what it does. It has a list of items. So that's all great. That's kind of the beginning and the foundation of arrays right there.